So I'm pleased to introduce Troye Bullock. Troye is a 2016 incoming Corps member. He'll be a member of the Corps here in Washington, D.C., where he'll teach special education. Troye is a senior at Georgetown University, where he studies sociology. At Georgetown, Troye has participated in many community organizations that are aimed at serving his hometown here in Washington, D.C. There's honestly too many to list, but I will share a couple of them. He coordinates a program that basically mentors juveniles in Washington, D.C. and helps them to restore their criminal record and integrates them back into schools. He leads a tutoring program, and Troye's belief and his interest in Teach for America comes down to a deep belief that every student he's worked with who is just like him, only with the difference of opportunities, and he wants to use his life to serve those communities and those students. No further ado, please welcome Troye.
Good morning, TFA family. I'd like to start by saying I'm honored to be here. It's a dream come true, and I'm glad you all could attend. Ever since I started applying to Teach for America, the question had been asked, why Teach for America? I've always wanted to say, why not? But that wouldn't sit well with the interviewers at all. There are many reasons why I chose Teach for America instead of anything else. I go to Georgetown, where everyone wants to go to Wall Street, do finance, or work in politics. To be honest, I could have went to Wall Street and done those things, but my experience has changed me. Quite frankly, I never knew what I wanted to do. My choices were learned. They developed over time, starting when I came to Georgetown. I started out at Georgetown, the guy on the football team, with the dreads, who everyone was scared of. The funny part was I didn't have dreads, I had braids. They didn't understand my culture. Long story short, I didn't fit in. Nobody was like me, and I tried so hard to fit into this new culture that I had never experienced before. When I say nobody was like me, I mean no one. I met a couple of people from similar situations, but I like to say mine was different, just like anybody else would. My mom was sick with sickle cell, so I raised my two little brothers most of the time when she was in the hospital, which is the reason why I stayed so close to home for college and now to teach. We never had much. We lived most of our life off of disability checks, which many of you know aren't much these days. Dad, who knew he was most of the time? He was there financially, but those finances came from dark places. Let's just say once upon a time, I Googled my name, which we shared, and for some reason, I thought I was going to be sentenced to 17 years in prison because of drugs. Turns out it wasn't me, and now I knew where all the fancy clothes and shoes came from. Things like this seemed so irregular to a student at Georgetown, so I decided to assimilate and forget my past. But one summer I needed a job. I knew a friend who had worked for a program at Georgetown called ASK, the After School Kids program, a program geared towards helping juvenile delinquents get off of house arrest and uplift them out of their respective situations and get them back on track. I realized there was nothing delinquent about these kids. They had just had some issues that hadn't been dealt with yet. In fact, I saw myself in most of them. I was just like them at their age, but some of the things they did, I just didn't get called on. I was lucky. I was lucky to get the opportunity. So from then on, I decided to pay it forward. I ended up getting a handful of those kids out of that program and out of the streets. I saw how much easier it was for me to do it than others who had been working in that program for some time, simply because those kids saw themselves in me as well. I thought if I can make an impact like that so easily, so genuinely, why not keep it going? Why should I be the only one that got lucky? I met many kids in that program who were much more outgoing, much more willing to better themselves. The only thing missing was opportunity. I thought of everyone who had helped me, football coaches, and that math teacher, the one who told me, you are brilliant, you're gonna go to Harvard, but not with that hair. They pushed me every step of the way. They created opportunity in my mind. They pushed me to be great. It is because of those influences and the influence that I had on those kids who were just like me that I dedicated my life to bridging the gap within educational equity. Without positive role models and people pushing me, I would have never gotten lucky. I would be back in the streets doing who knows what. Those small people in my life made such a big difference. They saved me from what many students like myself don't get saved from. So from here on, I dedicate myself to being that savior, that influence, that lucky charm who uplifts every student put in front of me. The opportunities in this world are infinite, but they aren't attainable unless they are envisioned. I seek to put vision in my students' eyes and create a way to make it attainable. My students won't be lucky like me because they are deserving, and they will obtain every goal they desire if it's up to me. So why Teach for America? The question for me really should be, why not? Who else is going to do it? My name is Troye Bullock. I'll be creating opportunities in DC next year. Have a blessed day, and let's continue this work for the next quarter century. Also, my mom couldn't be here today, so she wanted me to take a selfie for her. So I'm going to do that. Okay? Y'all ready? It's going to be a video. Cool. Just lighten the mood a little bit. All right?